A man's world crumbles on what should have been the happiest day of his life when he's told that one of his twin baby girls has died during birth. He lives with this dark agony for years until one day, a hungry little girl shows up on his doorstep, begging for food. It was the news that Alvin had been dreaming of for as long as he could remember, one that came like a miracle to change his life forever. When his wife Vanessa revealed she was pregnant with their first child, the 29-year-old family man was over the moon. Soon, the couple found out they were expecting not one, but twin baby girls. Alvin's heart swelled with a joy he had never experienced before. Tears rose in his eyes as he looked at the ultrasound images. His dream of having a big, happy family was finally coming true, and he couldn't wait to welcome his two little princesses into the world. Alvin knew Vanessa would be the best mother in the whole world, and he was determined to be the best father his daughters could ever hope for. With joy overflowing his heart, the dad-to-be prepared for the arrival of his babies. Throughout Vanessa's pregnancy, Alvin devoted himself to caring for her. He knew this was a special and important time for both of them. "How could you, you monster? How could you do this to our baby and me?" But sometimes Vanessa's temper flared up for no reason. Alvin was patient with those mood swings. He knew pregnancy could be tough on a woman. He shuttled between work and caring for his wife and took her cravings seriously. Alvin ensured that Vanessa was always comfortable, even if it meant putting up with her irrational temper and tantrums. As the due date approached, Alvin poured his heart and soul into making sure that everything, every little detail, was just perfect for his baby girls. So Alvin was determined to make his children's lives a fairy tale and even chose the finest pink to adorn the walls in their nursery and the dolls they would play with. But when the due date finally arrived, every parent's worst nightmare came true for Alvin. He impatiently marched outside the labor room where Vanessa was trying to push their babies out, and he was hoping to be called in soon. He found himself at a loss for words when he ran to the obstetrician who came out, wiping his hands after several hours. "Doctor, are my wife and babies all right? Can I see them?" Alvin asked the doctor, a look of eagerness and joy filled in his eyes. "I'm sorry for your loss. Only one of your twin babies survived," the doctor told Alvin and patted his shoulder reassuringly. The words seemed like a cruel blow to the father's heart. His joy was replaced by a deep, dark, aching sorrow that consumed him. Alvin couldn't believe that he had just lost one of his precious little angels before even holding her and feeling her tender skin in his hands. The news shook Alvin, and it felt like his world and his dreams were shattered into a million pieces. But despite his grief, Alvin knew he had to be a strong dad to his surviving daughter and marched into the ward to see her. "My little angel, my love. Daddy will do anything and everything for you, sweetie. I love you so much," Alvin cried as he held his baby girl Dolly in his arms. He promised his newborn child he would give her all the love and happiness he intended to shower on both daughters. As time passed, Alvin devoted his time wholeheartedly to caring for his baby girl. But Vanessa's grief had taken a different turn. Her temper was becoming unbearable day by day, and she started arguing with Alvin for no apparent reason. Alvin understood what his wife was going through after losing one of their babies. But even with time, Vanessa's outbursts saw no end. One day, he even confronted her for not holding or caring for her baby at all, and his wife's fury came bursting out. "How dare you blame me after what I've been through?" Vanessa yelled at Alvin. "I know I'm a mother. You needn't remind me all that time. And I'm not alive just to change the baby's poopy diapers and sing her to sleep. I need a break. And I want you to understand that carrying twins for 9 months wasn't easy for me. The least you could do is stop nagging and let me rest. You are responsible for her birth, and you should take care of her. Why is it always the mother who does it? If you really want, you can be her mama." Alvin was stunned. How could Vanessa not see that we both are going through the same grief, he thought. How could she not understand that this is the most delicate time for our baby? Alvin wanted to scream and break down, but he took a deep breath instead and took his baby to put her to sleep in the nursery. Months turned into years, and Dolly was growing up fast. Alvin loved watching his little daughter laugh and play, and he did everything to keep her smiling all the time. However, there was still something he couldn't possibly give her. a mother's love and attention. While Alvin was taking on work and the responsibilities of caring for his child, Vanessa spent all her time partying at the pub with her friends, neglecting her share of the latter. She turned to Alvin only when she needed his money or credit card, and barely stayed home or paid any attention to their daughter. With time, Alvin's marriage started to crumble, and he was always left alone with his daughter. He yearned for Vanessa to be the mother their child needed, but his wife didn't seem to show any interest in being a part of Dolly's life. Alvin hoped that Vanessa would soon realize her mistakes and get back on track. But nothing changed. Alvin forced himself to put up with his wife's arrogance for his daughter's sake, because he knew Dolly loved her mother. One day after dropping Dolly off at her play school, Alvin returned home to work on a project on his computer when he heard a loud knock on the door. Vanessa was not at home, so he thought it would be her. But when he opened the door, he saw a little girl who was his daughter's carbon copy, standing on the threshold. "I'm hungry, sir. Can you please give me something to eat?" she asked, her big, pleading eyes glistening with tears. Alvin was stunned. He couldn't believe what he was seeing and was shaken to his core. He remembered that he had just dropped Dolly off at school, and there was no way his daughter would wear rags and look so dirty. "I haven't seen you around before. Who are you?" Alvin asked the little girl, who stared at him helplessly with big gray eyes filled with tears. "My name is Leah. I've never been here before," said the girl. "I was going door to door begging for food and came here to ask if you could please give me something to eat. I'm hungry." Alvin couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to this than just a hungry little girl who bore an uncanny resemblance to his daughter. So he decided to get to the bottom of this and find out what was really going on and who this girl was. "Look here, Leah, I'll give you $100 if you take me to your parents," Alvin told the girl as he pulled out wads of money from his wallet. $100? Are you giving me so much money for real?" exclaimed the girl. "Yes, but before that, I want you to take me to your house to meet your parents. Get into my car." Leah agreed and led Alvin to her house near a landfill site, which was quite far from the neighborhood. His heart sank when he entered the girl's house. An unpleasant stench of alcohol greeted him, and the cigarette smell filled the air in the shabby little house. Alvin saw the girl's mother lying on the couch, coughing and wheezing, and to his surprise, another little boy named Alan was sitting by the bedside. Just as he looked around for the girl's father, a tall man who seemed mildly inebriated walked in and stared unpleasantly at Alvin. "Who are you?" fumed the man. "I'm supposed to be asking you that, sir," Alvin furiously lashed out at the guy. "These kids don't look like they are yours. They don't look like you or your wife at all." The man started yelling at Alvin, asking him to stay out of his business, and even admitted that he was not the children's biological father. "My wife and I adopted them. Thanks to me, these orphans now have a roof over their heads. I've been feeding them and raising them. I've given them a family and protection. Do hell with your questions and get out of my house, Buster," the man yelled at Alvin. "Oh, really? Did you adopt them to make them beg on the streets for food?" Alvin blurted out. At this point, the man threatened to call the cops on Alvin for breaking into his house if he didn't get out. Alvin stormed out as several thoughts started haunting his mind. The girl's uncanny resemblance to his daughter didn't quite add up still. Alvin suspected this had something to do with the birth of his twin children years ago and hurried home to confront his wife. Not in a million dreams could Alvin have guessed the shocking truth that he was about to discover. "But how do you explain this, Vanessa? I saw that girl with my very own eyes. She looks like our daughter Dolly. I can hardly tell them apart." Alvin called his wife home immediately and demanded an explanation. She tried to reason with him, saying the girl's resemblance to their daughter was just a coincidence. But Alvin refused to agree. "Even if it were, how is it that the girl is 6 years old, just like our daughter? She even has the same hair color and big gray eyes like Dolly. How's that possible?" Alvin argued. At this point, Vanessa started panicking and said, "You should have never gotten anywhere near the truth, Alvin. It was always you who wanted kids, not me. I always dreaded having babies because I didn't want to ruin my peaceful life, but I did it for you because I had no choice. You are right. That girl you saw, she is also your daughter, our daughter," revealed Vanessa as Alvin collapsed on the couch in shock. "Our what? Our daughter?" he gasped. As it turned out, Vanessa never wanted to have babies, but was forced to have them after her husband insisted. She was afraid he would deprive her of his money and credit card whenever she wanted, so she agreed to have the baby. However, the news of having twins was a big blow to her. Vanessa was not ready for such a huge responsibility. She thought she would have to stay home and devote all her time to her babies. That's when she hatched a plan to keep just one baby and get on with her party life with her friends. So, one day during an appointment when she was heavily pregnant, Vanessa had bribed her doctor into telling her husband that one of their twin babies had died during childbirth. Children are a blessing, and not all are blessed with such a beautiful thing. So never abandon your child. Although the doctor was reluctant initially, he agreed after seeing the wads of dollars Vanessa offered him in exchange for this lie. When Vanessa delivered her babies shortly after, she successfully deceived her husband with the doctor's help. Alvin genuinely believed that one of his twin babies had died during birth, when in fact the baby was born hale and hearty and was soon placed for a closed adoption. "How could you monster! How could you do this to our baby and me? Do you even know what you did, you evil woman? Do you know how many people are pleading with God to bless them with a child? How could you abandon your own daughter, you heartless monster?" Alvin burst into tears, unable to imagine his wife would do such a cruel thing. Alvin was so furious that he immediately kicked his wife out of his house, telling her he would soon send her the divorce papers. But before stepping out of his house, Vanessa cursed him. "You'll regret kicking me out. I don't need you anymore anyway. Who would even need you, loser?" she said, before walking out with her suitcase. Alvin was incredibly hurt, and his wife's words kept ringing in his head. However, he knew Vanessa was mistaken, and there was somebody who needed him more than anything. Alvin immediately reported the couple who'd adopted his other twin daughter to child services. Eventually, the couple was deprived of custody of their adopted children, and the kids were taken away. After everything they had been through, Alvin realized he couldn't leave his twin daughter Leah and Alan alone again. 6 months later, Alvin legally adopted the two children and took them home to introduce them to his daughter Dolly. Deep down, Alvin was nervous and worried if his daughter would accept the new changes in her life. But to his surprise, Dolly was delighted to finally have a sister and a little brother to play with. Today, Alvin is a happy dad raising 3 wonderful children, living the life he had always dreamed of. He has stepped into the shoes of both mother and father for his 3 lovely kids and is determined to give them the happy life they truly deserve. Tell us what you think and share this story with your friends. It might inspire them and brighten their day.